All right, welcome back everyone for another deep dive.
Yes, welcome back.
It's Module 5 now
Module 4.
of our journey through the backup and recovery systems architecture.
That's right.
And we've already covered so much.
We have.
You know, we started off talking about just the theory of backups and all that.
Yep.
And we've talked about storage concepts. We talked about all the details of clients and then the storage node components.
Yes.
So Module 5 now is backup and recovery planning.
Right.
Which sounds like we're finally going to get to.
Yeah, we're going to architect a solution now.
Yeah, put all this together.
That's right.
So are you ready?
Let's do it.
To architect?
I am ready.
A real world.
I think Module 5 starts off with a good point right off the bat.
Okay.
Because it says, before you design anything, you have to know what success looks like.
Oh, okay.
So you have to understand your RTOs and RPOs.
Oh, yeah.
Recovery time objectives, recovery point objectives.
Yeah.
You got to know what your business can handle.
It's kind of like that, measure twice, cut once,
Exactly.
But
you got to plan this out.
yeah,
Sure.
thoroughly. Yeah. Plan thoroughly, recover smoothly.
Exactly.
You don't want to, get into this thinking about the tech before you understand what your business can actually handle.
How much downtime can we handle?
Yeah.
How much data loss is acceptable?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can start talking about the tech.
Yeah, and speaking of the tech, there's a good little tip here.
Oh, yeah.
From the source material. It says that one of the biggest challenges a user faces is sizing the solution.
Oh, interesting.
Gaining the best value from a backup to disk solution may involve assessing the current backup retention as well as the backup frequency.
Right.
So basically, don't just go out and buy a bunch of storage.
Don't overspend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure out, what you've got, what your frequency is.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
And then use that to size your solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good advice.
So it's all about really understanding your environment.
That's right.
And part of that is this idea of knowing your data.
Absolutely.
And the material talks about classifying data as structured or unstructured.
Okay.
So structured data, you can think about that like a spreadsheet where everything's in neat little rows and columns.
Okay, very organized.
Yeah, very, very organized.
Okay.
But then unstructured data is like my email inbox.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just kind of a jumble of all kinds of stuff.
That's a good example.
Where it's-
Emails and attachments.
Yeah, who knows what else is in there?
Exactly.
And it's interesting because
I've heard that unstructured data makes up like 80% of NSA's information.
80%.
80%.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
It is a lot to manage.
Yeah,
Heard that.
absolutely. So what other kind of characteristics of data should we be thinking about?
Well, you got to think about location.
Okay.
Where is this data? Is it all in one place or is it spread out? Is it multiple files? Is it, how far does it have to travel?
Yeah.
And then there's data size and anticipated growth.
Okay.
How big is this data? Are we talking gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes?
Yeah.
How fast is it growing?
Right.
And then the number of files.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, backing up one big giant file might be easier than backing up thousands of tiny little files.
Oh, interesting.
Even if it totals out to the same size.
Okay.
Because you're accessing all these different files.
Yeah.
The material actually points that out. It says, backing up large size files may use less system resources than backing up an equal amount of data comprising a large number of small size files.
Interesting.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, so it's not just the amount of data, it's how that data is structured.
That's right.
That could affect the resources.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then, of course, the type of data.
Oh.
Is it databases? Is it email archives?
Right.
Is it rich media?
Okay.
Is it compressed? Is it encrypted? Is it changing frequently?
Yeah.
All these things come into play.
It's like each piece of data has its own fingerprint.
Exactly.
We need to analyze and understand.
That's right.
Now, what about heterogeneous?
Heterogeneous systems?
Yeah, heterogeneous systems.
That's a whole nother ball of wax right there.
Yeah.
Different operating systems, different applications, different storage platforms.
Yeah, so they've all got to play nice together.
They all got to play nice.
Yeah.
And they all got to be in sync.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a challenge. The material doesn't go into too much detail there, but it does mention needing tailored procedures and maybe even specialized backup tools for those situations.
Right, so we just have to be aware.
Be aware. That's the big takeaway.
Okay, so now let's talk about compression and encryption.
Okay, two important topics.
Yeah, so compression helps us shrink that data footprint.
That's right.
Right, we want to keep that as small as possible.
Absolutely. Got to save space.
So there's two basic types.
There is hardware compression and software compression.
Okay.
Hardware compression happens at the tape drive or the hardware level.
Okay.
Software compression uses the host CPU and memory.
So hardware is probably going to be a little more efficient then.
Yeah, hardware's more efficient, software may be more flexible, but it can have a performance impact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the material reminds us that to effectively use compression, it is important to understand the characteristics of the data. Some data, such as application binaries, do not compress well.
So again, knowing your data
Know your data.
is crucial.
It's always crucial.
Okay.
So then there's encryption.
Encryption.
Got to protect that data.
Right. This is that added layer of security.
Absolutely. Scramble that data, make it unreadable without the key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there's different ways to do it. You got source-based encryption, appliance-based encryption, storage node encryption. They all have their pluses and minuses.
Yeah, and the material makes a good point that encryption can add some overhead.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It can increase your processing,
Processing overhead.
storage
More
needs,
storage.
and it requires a good key management system.
Absolutely. Got to manage those keys.
Yeah, so it's security is paramount,
Yes.
but it's not without its own,
It's got its own challenges.
complexities.
Exactly.
Now, the material also kind of shifts gears a little bit here
Oh, okay.
and talks about how all these technical considerations
Yeah.
should be driven by business needs.
Right. It all comes back to the business.
It all comes back to those RTOs and RPOs we talked about at the beginning.
Exactly.
Right. How much data loss can you tolerate? How much downtime can your business handle?
Right. And the material actually walks us through some questions.
Okay.
How often do we need to back up? How long do we need to keep those backups?
Right.
Which media type is best? Tape, disk, combination of the two?
Yeah.
Do we have backup window constraints?
Yeah, these are good questions to be asking.
Yeah, it helps frame the discussion. And they also distinguish between operational backups, disaster recovery backups, and long-term retention backups,
Right.
which all have different purposes and different costs associated with them.
So it's not just about backing up everything.
It's not. It's about having the right backups for the right reason.
Right, for the right purpose.
Exactly.
Now, what about service level objectives?
Service level objective, yeah, those are like a contract between IT and the business.
Okay.
They define the level of service that's going to be provided, and that includes backup and recovery.
Gotcha. Okay.
They give a good example in the material.
Okay.
They say, if data loss of no more than 4 hours is acceptable, then the backup architect should ensure that backup starts every 4 hours, and most importantly, the previous backup completes in less than 4 hours.
So you can't just schedule a backup for every 4 hours.
Right.
You got to make sure that it's going to complete within that 4-hour window.
You got it.
Okay.
And as businesses move toward 204/7 availability,
Right.
those backup windows are shrinking.
Yeah, that makes things difficult.
It does. It's a challenge.
Yeah. But they do talk about high-speed networks.
High-speed networks, yeah.
Disk storage?
Disk storage like DTDTT.
Okay.
And then, of course, deduplication technologies.
That's application.
Big one there.
Yeah.
So we have tools. We have ways to address this challenge.
to make this work.
That's right.
Okay, so that wraps up lesson 1.
Lesson 1 down.
That was a lot.
A lot.
A lot of planning consideration.
But I feel like we've got a good foundation.
Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, to build a
A
real-world
real-world plan?
backup and recovery plan.
Absolutely.
So, are you ready for lesson 2?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so lesson 2.
Okay.
This is all about managing and testing your backup environment.
Okay.
And these are often overlooked,
Right.
but super important
Yeah.
for data protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you can have the best tech in the world,
Right.
but if you don't manage it and test it,
It's all for nothing.
it's like having a fancy sports car but never changing the oil,
Exactly.
right? Eventually, it's going to break down.
100%.
So how do we manage these things?
Well, the material does a good job of painting a picture of the challenges,
Okay.
especially in today's environments where everything's so distributed.
Yeah.
You've got multiple data centers.
Right.
You may have different protection methods in each data center,
Yeah.
different applications.
A lot to keep track of.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
And the material actually highlights this with a few questions.
Okay.
How much data was backed up last night across all data centers?
That's a good question.
How many clients have not been successfully backed up in the past week?
Oh, yeah.
And what are the reasons for failure?
Yeah. Are they backup related?
Are they backup related?
Network related? Application related?
Network application, yeah.
Yeah,
So these are questions that you need to be able to answer.
absolutely.
Because if you can't answer them, then you're kind of flying blind.
Right. You're just hoping for the best,
Hoping for the best, right?
but you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. And that's where a tool like Dell EMC Data Protection Advisor comes in.
Okay, BPA, this sounds like that single pane of glass
Simple pane of glass, central command center.
that we want.
You got it.
Okay, so tell me more about DPA.
So DPA collects data from all kinds of sources.
Okay.
Your backup solutions, your replication technologies,
Okay.
virtual environments, storage systems, applications.
So it pulls it all together.
So it pulls it all together into one place.
So we don't have to be jumping between all these different systems.
No more jumping around, no more spreadsheets.
That's what we want.
It gives you that clarity and that control that you need.
Yeah.
And it does this through a few key features. First, it has this proactive analysis engine.
Okay.
So it's constantly looking for failures,
Okay.
exceptions.
So it's like our early warning system.
It's your early warning system. It's your data detective, trying to find those problems before they become big problems.
Before they become headaches.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it.
And then there's the centralized data store,
Okay.
which pulls all that information into one place.
All right.
And then you've got capabilities for monitoring, alerting, troubleshooting, optimization, capacity planning, reporting.
So pretty much everything you need
to manage this stuff.
to manage your backup environment.
Okay, what are some of the benefits?
Well, they mention cost reduction
Okay.
because you're being more efficient,
Right.
improved compliance, and reduced risk
Okay.
because you've got better visibility,
Right.
reduced complexity
Yeah.
because everything's in one place,
Single pane of glass.
single pane of glass. You got it.
So it sounds like DPA not only helps us manage backups more effectively,
Right.
but it also helps us prove that we're doing it right.
That's right. You can measure your success. You can demonstrate it.
That's important.
Yeah, for reporting, for compliance, it's crucial.
Yeah, especially in today's world. Absolutely.
Now, even with the best management tools,
Right.
the material stresses that testing is still super important.
Testing, testing, testing. You can't overstate the importance of testing.
Yeah, because how do we know if it's actually going to work?
Exactly. It's like a fire drill.
Right.
You don't wait for a fire to figure out if your escape plan works.
Exactly, yeah.
You got to test it ahead of time.
So what happens if we don't test?
Well, the material says that untested plans can lead to delays,
Yeah.
incomplete recoveries.
Right.
You're going to lose time, you're going to lose money,
Lose money.
and you could even damage your reputation.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So we got to test.
We got to test.
But how do we know what to test?
Well, they give a good example.
Okay.
They talk about a situation where the system administrators are trying to reinstall the operating system during a disaster.
Okay.
And they find that they can restore the operating system media,
Okay.
but they forgot to store the license codes. So they can't actually use the operating system.
It's like showing up for a marathon and realizing you forgot your shoes.
You got it.
Yeah, you're not going to get very far.
You're not going to get very far.
Okay.
And they drive the point home by saying testing should be performed regularly to account for changes in the environment.
Yeah, because things are always changing.
Things are always changing. You got to keep up with it.
Yeah.
You got to make sure your tests are up to date.
Okay, I'm feeling much better about our ability to manage and test these backups now.
Good. Good.
Let's move on to lesson 3.
All right. Lesson 3. Let's tackle disaster recovery.
Let's face our fears.
Let's face our fears. Exactly.
And talk about disaster recovery.
All right. So they start off by defining a couple of terms.
Okay.
Disaster recovery and disaster restart.
Okay, so what's the difference?
So disaster recovery typically involves restoring from backups,
Okay.
which is what we've been talking about this whole time.
Right.
Disaster restart relies on mirrored copies of your data and applications.
Yeah.
So that's usually accomplished through replication technologies.
So disaster recovery is like calling a tow truck when you get a flat tire.
Okay.
Disaster restart is having that spare tire in the trunk.
That's a great analogy.
Right, where you can just swap it out yourself.
Disaster restart is all about minimizing downtime and data loss
Got it.
because you have that mirrored copy ready to go.
Right, ready to go.
So then they talk about the different types of disasters.
Okay.
You know, you've got application crashes,
Mhm.
you've got hardware failures,
Oh,
you've
yeah.
got data center failures, and then you've got those big natural disasters.
Nobody wants to think about those.
Nobody wants to think about those, but they happen.
They do happen, unfortunately.
And they make a good point. Disasters rarely happen instantaneously.
Right.
It's usually a series of events.
It's like a domino effect.
It is like a domino effect. One thing leads to another.
Yeah.
And this can be especially challenging when you're relying on remote replication for disaster recovery. Because if your primary systems are having problems
Right.
during that unfolding disaster,
Right.
those problems can be replicated to your secondary site.
So you end up with 2 bad copies.
Exactly, and that defeats the whole purpose
Yeah.
of having a backup.
Of having a backup, yeah.
So maintaining data consistency throughout a disaster
Right.
is paramount.
So you have to be careful.
You have to be careful.
Yeah, and I'm guessing this is where having really good procedures comes in?
Absolutely. You need a clear and tested procedures for both disaster restart
Oh.
and return home.
Okay.
Return home is when you bring your primary systems back online.
Right. Right.
And these procedures can get pretty complex.
I bet.
You've got multiple technologies, servers, arrays, networks.
You got to get it all back in sync.
Got to get it all back in sync. And it's a delicate dance.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Now, they actually give us a simplified restart example
Okay.
for a UNIX application running on file systems. So you would start by importing the volume group on the remote host.
Mhm.
Then you mount the file systems and check for errors.
Okay.
And then you start the application.
Okay, so it sounds straightforward.
It sounds straightforward.
But I'm guessing it's not always that easy.
Oh, it can get much more complicated in the real world.
I bet.
But the key takeaway here is documentation and testing.
Documentation and testing.
You got to have those procedures documented.
Yeah.
And you got to test them.
Yeah, make sure they work.
Make sure they work, absolutely.
And what about the return home process?
So, return home, you need a plan for shutting down applications gracefully,
Okay.
creating a local replica of the data at the recovery site.
Right.
Sometimes they call that the gold copy.
Okay.
Restoring data from the remote devices back to the primary site.
Right.
And then resuming production and replication.
So there's a lot of steps involved.
There's a lot of steps, and they all need to be done in the right order.
Yeah, so we don't mess anything up.
Exactly. You don't want to introduce any data corruption.
Right.
Or any other problems.
So again, documentation is key.
Documentation is key. They really emphasize that.
Yeah, you don't want to be trying to figure this out in the middle of a disaster.
No, you want to have a plan.
A plan.
You want to have a checklist.
Absolutely.
You want to be prepared.
Now, they also touch on bare metal restores.
Bare metal restores, yeah, those are essentially starting from scratch.
Okay.
It's like you're rebuilding a server from the ground up.
So we need backups of everything.
You need backups of everything.
The operating system.
Operating system, patches,
Applications.
the backup client software itself.
Everything.
Everything, you got it.
And I bet automation can help with this.
Oh, absolutely. Automation can be a lifesaver.
Yeah.
It streamlines the process. It reduces the chance of human error.
Yeah. Less room for mistakes.
Exactly.
So it sounds like disaster recovery is about a lot more than just technology.
It is. It's about planning. It's about preparation, testing, having those procedures in place,
Yeah.
and being ready for anything.
So are you ready to see how Dell MC tackles these challenges?
Yeah, let's see what I got.
With their technology.
Let's dive into their backup and recovery portfolio.
Okay.
Okay, lesson 4 now is where we get to see these concepts put into practice.
Okay, cool.
Using Dell EMC's backup technologies.
All right.
And the first thing they acknowledge is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right, of course.
Every organization is different.
Different needs.
Different budgets, different risk tolerances.
Right.
So Dell MC takes this best fit approach.
Okay.
They have a portfolio of solutions and they say, look, let's find the one that's the best fit for your particular situation.
So it's like a toolbox, right?
It is like a toolbox.
Different tools for different jobs.
Absolutely. That's a great analogy.
So let's crack open this toolbox.
Let's do it.
And see what's inside.
Okay, so the first tool we're going to look at is Dell MC PowerProtect DD. This used to be called Data Domain.
Data domain, yeah, I've heard of that.
So what is PowerProtect DD?
Yeah, what is it?
It is purpose-built,
Okay.
inline,
Okay.
deduplicated disk storage.
All those words.
Yeah, a lot of words there, but basically what it means is
Yeah.
it's designed for speed, it's designed for reliability,
Yeah, okay.
it's designed for efficiency.
So it's like the workhorse.
It is the workhorse. They call it the storage of last resort.
Storage of last resort. That sounds serious.
It is serious. This is where your backups go when everything else fails.
Okay.
You know, you can trust that your data is safe and recoverable on PowerProtect DD.
Gotcha.
It also supports a bunch of other features,
Okay.
like replication.
Okay.
So you can replicate your backups to a secondary site for disaster recovery,
Okay.
encryption.
Gotcha.
So you can protect your data at rest and in transit.
Yeah.
And even data shredding.
Okay.
So if you need to get rid of some sensitive data,
Right.
you can shred it securely.
So it's not just about storing those backups.
It's not.
It's about managing that data throughout its entire life cycle.
You got it.
Okay. And you mentioned deduplication.
Deduplication, yeah, that's one of the key features of PowerProtect DD.
So how does inline deduplication work?
Okay, So inline deduplication,
Okay.
it identifies and eliminates redundant data blocks before they're written to disk.
Okay.
This is different from post-process deduplication,
Right.
which writes everything to disk first
Okay.
and then goes back and cleans up the duplicates.
So it's like preventing clutter before it even enters your house
I like that analogy.
versus cleaning up after a party.
Exactly.
So inline deduplication is going to be more efficient.
It is. It's simpler, it's faster,
Okay.
and it requires less storage space overall.
Less data to write, less storage space.
You got it.
Okay.
They give a good example of PowerProtect DD in action.
Okay.
They talk about a scenario with 7,000 physical servers,
Wow.
2 petabytes of backup data.
2 petabytes. That's a lot of data.
It's a lot of data.
Right.
And it's growing by 150 terabytes a year.
That's a lot of growth.
It is. It's a data deluge.
So what do they do?
So they implemented PowerProtect DD,
Yeah.
and it significantly reduced their storage requirements.
Okay, so less storage.
Less storage, lower cost.
And I bet it was easier to manage.
Absolutely. It integrated seamlessly into their existing environment.
Okay, cool.
Now, let's move on to another tool in the Dell EMC toolbox.
Okay.
This one's called Avamar.
Avamar, all right.
So Avamar is an end-to-end backup solution,
Okay.
and it's known for its client-side global deduplication.
Okay, so it's deduplicating at the source
Deduplicating at the source, that's right.
before it even sends the data over the network.
Exactly, which reduces the backup window and the network load.
So it's like sending a text message instead of a long email.
I like that, yeah.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet, you got it.
Get the message across.
That's right.
Without all the extra baggage.
Exactly. So this is really good for environments that have limited bandwidth.
Right. Or maybe a lot of virtual machines.
Virtual machines.
Where moving large amounts of data can be a bottleneck.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, in addition to deduplication, Avamar is also known for its high availability and reliability.
Okay, so if one component fails.
Right. It uses RAID
Okay.
for fault tolerance,
Gotcha.
and it verifies recoverability daily.
So we know that the backups are good.
We know the backups are good. We're not just hoping for the best.
We're not crossing our fingers.
No crossed fingers here.
Okay, and for disaster recovery.
For disaster recovery, Avamar supports replication to a secondary site.
Okay, so we're covered there.
You're covered, your data is protected, even if there's a major outage.
All right. Any other key benefits we should know about?
Yeah, the material highlights a few more.
Okay.
They say Avamar does full backups every time,
Okay.
which makes recovery really easy.
Right, we don't have to worry about incrementals and all that.
No incrementals, it's just one full backup.
Okay.
It also offers one-step recovery.
One step. So it's fast.
Fast and easy.
Nice.
They say it has a higher backup success rate.
Okay, so fewer failures.
Fewer failures, that's always good.
And I bet it saves money, too.
It does. They talk about increased ROI, lower TCO, reduced risk.
All thanks to that deduplication.
All thanks to that efficient deduplication and backup process.
Okay, so Avamar sounds like a really solid choice.
It is. It's a great option for organizations that are looking to optimize their backups.
Yeah.
And it gets even better when you consider its integration capabilities.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that.
So Avamar has specialized client plugins for databases.
Okay.
This ensures consistent online backups and restores for critical applications.
So we're not just talking about basic file and folder backups.
Not just files and folders, we're talking about databases.
Databases, yeah.
Mission critical
It's
steps.
stuff that keeps the business running.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can back up things like Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, Exchange.
So it can handle those complex database environments.
It can. It's got you covered.
Okay.
And it integrates with PowerProtect DD.
Right.
Using DD Boost technology.
PD Boost. That's that optimized protocol.
That's right. It's like a data superhighway between Avamar and PowerProtect DD.
So it makes the backups even faster.
Even faster, especially for large databases.
Okay. Oh.
And it doesn't stop there. Avamar also integrates with VMware.
All right. So it plays nice with virtual machines.
It does. It supports both guest-level and image-level backups for virtual machines.
Okay.
So you can manage your physical and virtual backups all in one place.
Which is important because most organizations have a mix of both these days.
Exactly. It's a hybrid world out there.
So how does Avamar handle those real-world challenges?
Well, they give another good example in the material.
Okay.
They talk about an organization that was struggling with a growing backup environment.
Okay. Sounds familiar.
A shrinking backup window and limited network bandwidth.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
It is. It is.
So what did they do?
They brought in Avamar, and Avamar's client-side deduplication reduced their bandwidth usage.
Right.
The global deduplication reduced their storage requirements,
Okay.
and they got faster backup times.
So Avamar really came to the rescue.
It did. It solved all their problems.
Okay. So we've talked about PowerProtect DD. We've talked about Avamar.
Right.
There's one more piece to this Dell EMC puzzle, right?
There's one more tool in the toolbox.
Okay.
And that is Networker.
Networker.
Right.
Yeah.
So Networker is a unified backup software platform,
Unified. Okay.
which means it brings together a lot of the concepts we've been talking about.
Okay.
It provides a common platform for managing backups to disk,
Okay.
to tape,
Okay.
to snapshots,
Yeah.
and even to replication.
So it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of backup solutions.
I like that. The Swiss Army knife, it can do it all.
All right. So what else can Networker do?
Well, like Avamar,
Okay.
it supports integrated deduplication,
Okay.
and it can leverage both Avamar and data domain technologies.
So we've got options.
You've got options. You can choose the best deduplication approach for your needs.
Flexibility. I like.
Flexibility, that's what Networker is all about.
So what are some of the key benefits?
Well, the material highlights a few.
Okay.
Simplified, centralized management.
So it's easy to use.
Easy to use, one place to manage everything.
Okay.
Broad platform support.
Okay.
So it's very versatile. It can work in a lot of different environments.
Yeah.
An extensive enterprise-wide deployment experience.
So it's been battle tested.
It's been battle tested. It's proven technology.
I like that.
Yeah, you know it's going to work.
Okay, so it sounds like a good choice for organizations that have complex backup needs.
Absolutely. If you've got a lot going on,
Yeah.
Networker can handle it.
All right, so what else makes Networkers special?
So it has these specialized application modules
Okay.
for consistent backups of a wide range of databases,
Okay.
messaging systems, and ERP applications.
Okay, so again, we're not just talking about files and folders.
Not just files and folders. We're talking about the mission-critical stuff.
The stuff that keeps the business running.
Exactly. So it can back up things like DB2, Oracle, Exchange, SQL Server, SharePoint, SAP.
It can handle it all.
It can handle it all.
Okay. And how does it integrate with the other Dell MC technologies?
So it integrates with Avamar for source-side deduplication,
Okay.
which reduces backup size and network load.
Okay.
It integrates with PowerProtect DD using DD Boost.
Right, for those fast backups.
For those fast backups, especially for large databases,
Okay.
it can even manage data domain replication.
So we've got that disaster recovery angle covered.
You got it. You're protected no matter what.
All right, so Networker's all about flexibility and integration.
Flexibility, integration, and ensuring that your data is always protected.
Okay, sounds good.
And of course, it integrates with VMware as well.
Oh, of course, for those virtual machines.
With those virtual machines, yeah.
So it supports guest level and image level backups.
It does, and it provides centralized management and automatic discovery of your VMware environments.
So you can manage everything from one place.
One pane of glass, you got it.
Okay, so how does Networker handle real-world situations?
Well, they give a great example in the material.
Okay.
They talk about an organization that has multiple remote offices,
Okay.
and they're backing up large files
Okay.
across a WAN with limited bandwidth.
Sounds like a challenge.
It is. It's a logistical nightmare.
Try and get all that data across a slow network.
Yeah, it could take forever.
Yeah.
So what did they do?
What did they do?
They deployed multiple storage nodes
Okay.
at those remote offices.
So like mini data centers at each location.
Exactly. So they didn't have to send all that data across the WAN.
That's smart.
It is. And they could manage all those backups centrally.
Through Networker?
Through a networker, that's right.
Okay, I am impressed with Dell MC's backup and recovery portfolio.
Yeah. They've really got a solution for every challenge.
It seems like it. They've got it all.
They do. They've got the purpose-built deduplication appliances,
Right.
the unified backup software platforms,
Right.
the integration with virtualization technologies.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive suite of solutions.
It is. They've covered all the bases.
So that's the end of Module 5.
Module 5 down.
We did it.
We did it.
And that actually wraps up
That wraps up the whole course.
its whole deep
I've
dive.
covered a lot of ground.
We have. We started with the basic concepts of
Yes.
backup and recovery.
The terminology,
Yeah, all that stuff.
operations,
Right, and then we talked about different storage systems.
different storage systems, the concepts, the
Yeah.
components. We talked about different backup sources, different storage media,
Advantages, disadvantages.
advantages, disadvantages of each.
Right,
We talked about planning for backup and recovery,
absolutely.
which is so important.
Crucial.
And then we finished up with this deep dive into Dell NMC's data protection portfolio.
Right, PowerProtect DD, Avamar, Networker.
All the big players.
So congratulations, everyone. You made it.
You made it through the course.
You are now a backup and recovery expert.
Well, maybe not an expert.
Oh, you're well on your way.
You're well on your way.
You've got the foundation.
You've got the foundation, that's for sure.
And if you want to continue learning,
Oh,
we
yeah.
highly recommend checking out the Dell EMC Data Protection Solutions podcast series.
That's a great resource.
Yeah, they've got insights, they've got best practices, they've got real-world stories.
Real-world stories from the experts.
So definitely worth checking out.
Definitely.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
So we want you to think about what we've talked about.
Yeah, think about your own organization.
Your own data protection needs.
The challenges you face.
Yeah, what strategies can you implement to safeguard that critical information?
What backup and recovery solutions would be the best fit for your environment?
Yeah, what aspects of data protection are you most interested in?
We want to hear from you.
Yeah, share your thoughts with us on social media.
We'd love to continue the conversation.
So thank you for joining us on this data protection adventure.
Until next time, may your data be safe and sound.